Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are continuing with chapter number 13 of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, and I'll recite verse number 5 in Sanskrit, then we'll take the translation by Srila Prabhupada, and I will give the explanation. Text 5. Rishubhir bahudha gitam chandobhir vividahe prithak brahma sutra padeschaiva hetumadbhi vinishchitaih. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. That knowledge of the field of activities and of the knower of activities is described by various sages in various Vedic writings. It is especially presented in Vedanta Sutra with all reasoning as to cause and effect. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So once again, welcome to all of you. I really appreciate your joining. Thank you so much. We started this chapter with Arjuna asking a lot of questions to Krishna about who is the enjoyer, that is the Supreme Lord Krishna. What is the field of activities, which is this body? Who is the knower of this field, which means knower of this body, and that is the spirit soul. And also the super soul that is situated in the heart, who is our witness, our guide, someone who is watching over us and guiding us too. And also Arjuna asked a question about knowledge, and Krishna said, anyone who understands the difference between body and soul, that is knowledge, and that is the knower, the spirit soul. Now, in this verse number 5, Krishna starts off by saying that knowledge, which means he's referring to what knowledge he has given so far, and he's talking about the knower of activities. Now, one important point in this verse is that Krishna is referring to various sages in the Vedas. That means he's giving reference. He's not just giving his own interpretation, opinion, or anything, but he's referring to the Vedic scriptures. And he also talks about Vedanta Sutra. Now, as I mentioned last Wednesday, this chapter is a little bit technical, but it helps us to understand this knowledge so that we can actually practically understand we are not this body. Theoretically, it's very easy to say, oh yes, I'm not this body. But to really realize it and be conscious of it, that I'm not this body, but I'm the spirit soul, it's important to take on knowledge. Now, Krishna, as per the Vedic scriptures, he is the highest authority who is giving this knowledge. In chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita, we learned about the history of the Bhagavad Gita. We learned also about what is the position of Krishna, that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now here, even though Krishna is the highest authority, he is giving reference of the Vedic literatures and also of the great sages. Even though he's in that position, he's still giving evidence from previous authorities. Now this talk about Vedanta Sutras, and Vedanta Sutras, they are actually accepted as authority. And it is also very, very important to understand that these sages, they are the ones who are well versed in the Vedas and the Vedanta Sutras, and that includes Srila Vyasadeva. Now one may question, who is Vyasadeva? Vyasadeva is an incarnation of Krishna. He came down 5,000 years ago just to put the Vedic knowledge into writing so that people like us in this Kali Yuga, we get an opportunity to understand the goal of human life. Unfortunately, most people feel human life is meant for eat, sleep, and be merry. But no, if we do that, then there is no difference between human beings and animals. Animals eat, sleep, have babies, and defend themselves. So if human beings also just indulge in these four activities, then they are not any way, superior than the animals. Human life is meant for self-realization. So here Krishna is talking about Vedanta Sutras, and these Vedanta Sutras are given by Krishna himself in his incarnation as Vyasadeva. What is Vedanta? Veda means knowledge, Anta means end of knowledge. That is Vedanta. That means end of knowledge is to understand the Supreme Lord Krishna. Actually, it is mentioned, Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that the real commentary of Vedanta Sutra is Srimad Bhagavatam. Many times I have referred to Srimad Bhagavatam, which is actually the essence of all the four Vedas. And Bhagavad Gita, which we are studying on Wednesdays, is the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. So actually, Bhagavad Gita is the essence of the Vedic knowledge. Now, the commentary of the Vedanta Sutra, which is Srimad Bhagavatam, one cannot understand Vedanta Sutras because they are mentioned in codes. And in each code, there is ample meaning. Just like in Sanskrit, some words, they have more than one meaning. And these codes, they require explanation. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the explanation of Vedanta Sutra by Krishna himself in the form of Srila Vyasadeva. So Vedic knowledge is summarized in Vedanta Sutra. Now the codes of Vedanta Sutra, they are nicely arranged as per cause and effect. And Prabhupada in his purport very nicely mentions aphorism. So I looked up on Google, what is the meaning of aphorism. People generally think Google is God, because Google has all the knowledge, all the information that one may need. We have a doubt, just put it in Google and we get the answer. So what is aphorism? Now, it is said it's memorable expression of general truth or principle. And this is handed down by tradition from generation to generation. This is what we learned even in chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, Evam parampara praptam imam rajasya vidhu sakalena hamahata yogo nashtaha parantapa. He says this spiritual science, which means this Bhagavad Gita, this spiritual science is received in strict disciplic succession, which means it starts from Krishna. Krishna gave it to Brahma. Brahma gave it to Narada. Narada gave it to Vyasadeva. So it comes down in strict disciplic succession. And number 32 is Srila Prabhupada, who has given us the Bhagavad Gita as it is. So it's handed down from generation to generation, from the guru to the disciple to the other disciple, and this is how it comes down. So the first aphorism of Vedanta Sutra is Athatho Brahma Jigyasa. Jigyasa means that, inquiry, that someone is very anxious to know. Human life is meant to inquire about what? Not about stock market or what's going on in politics. No, human life is meant to inquire about the absolute truth, which is the Supreme Lord himself. In the Bhagavad Gita, when we come to chapter 15, we will come to verse number 15, which is one of my favorite verses, where Krishna says, Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto. He says, I am situated in everyone's heart. And he says, Mataha smritir jnanam apohanam cha. And he says, I'm in the heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Now, we are also situated in the heart as the spirit soul next to the super soul. So whatever we choose, if we choose to get knowledge, then Krishna will guide us. If we choose to forget him, Krishna will guide us in that direction. And if we want to remember him, the same thing he's going to do. So he's waiting for us to choose what do we want. And also further in this verse, it says, Vedescha sarver aham eva vedeo Vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. Krishna says, I am the compiler of the Vedas and I am to be known from the Vedas. So he's giving us a goal that if we want to study Bhagavad Gita, because that is the essence of Vedas, then the goal should be to understand Krishna, to know him. So that is what Vedanta Sutra is talking about. Athatho Brahma Jigyasa, inquiring about the absolute truth. Now, those who are less philosophically inclined in this age, it is very difficult to understand Vedanta Sutras. But if we want, we can understand it by taking the summary from the Bhagavad Gita, from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Bhagavad Gita has a summary of all Vedic knowledge. It's like a high school level knowledge. Srimad Bhagavatam is graduate level. And then there is another level, which is Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is a postgraduate level, which deals with how to love the Supreme Lord. Now, Vedanta Sutra, I'm talking a lot about Vedanta Sutra because Krishna talks about it in this verse that we read, number 5. So Vedanta Sutra is also called Brahma Sutra. Everything that is taking birth in this material world. And that is what we learned in chapter number 10. Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabho mataha sarvam pravartate. Iti matva bhajante ma. He says, everything emanates from me. Everyone, every living entity, everything comes from Krishna himself. And after giving this theoretical knowledge, we saw in chapter 11, he gave a demonstration, a practical demonstration that everything is actually within the Lord and everything is coming out from him. So he's the origin. So anything material has a date of birth and death. There is a beginning and there is an end. And various, scriptures, like you can take the 4 Vedas, Samaveda, Atharva, Yajurveda. What are the 4 Vedas? Samaveda, Yajurveda, Leela Vasini. What are the 4 Vedas?
Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharvana.
Yes, again, what? Sama, Yajur,
Rig,
Rig Veda, and
Atharvana.
Yes, these are the 4 Vedas. So all the scriptures, the 4 Vedas, they are all combined together in Srimad Bhagavatam. And the summary of Srimad Bhagavatam is Bhagavad Gita. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna clearly explains to us the goal of human life. In the purport of this verse number 5, Srila Prabhupada talks about Krishna being the highest authority. Now, he's not saying out of nowhere. He's referring to all the different scriptures, like in Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Eti chamsa kalapumsa Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam. That Krishna, you yourself are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita itself, chapter number 5, Krishna says, Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwara, Maha Ishvara. He is the Supreme Lord. Now, the first created being, which is Lord Brahma, in his Brahma Samhita, he says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha, that the Supreme Lord is Krishna himself. So, Srila Prabhupada, based on the scriptures, in his purport, he says, Krishna is the highest authority. But yet, in this verse that we read today, Krishna is mentioning previous authorities, like great sages like Vyasadeva and Parashar Muni. So what is the purpose of that knowledge that Krishna is talking about in this verse? That knowledge he's talking about is the difference between body and soul, that we are spirit soul and we are entrapped in material bodies. In chapter number 2, we learned, Dehino asmin yatha dehe, kaumaram yovanam jara, tatha dehantara praptir, dhiras tatrana muhyati. Krishna says, as the embodied soul, which means the soul is encaged in the material body, as the embodied soul continuously passes from boyhood to youth to old age, similarly, the soul passes on to another body at the time of death, and dhira, a sober person, is not bewildered by such a change. So we are entrapped in this material body based on our past karma. We, have been since time immemorial, we've been doing work in different modes: goodness, passion, ignorance, and based on our past activities, now at present, we have a particular kind of body with different particular reactions based on our past karma. Some are born rich, some are born poor, some are born healthy, some are unwell, some are in, human beings in different countries, So all this is based on our past karma. The type of body we have got in the different country that we have got, in a different family that we have, taken birth, all that is based on our past karma. So here Krishna is trying to make Arjuna understand. Arjuna, he doesn't want to fight. Because his relatives are, standing against him. His relatives have been irreligious, and Krishna wants him to kill them because they are irreligious. That is the whole scene of this Mahabharata where this Bhagavad Gita was spoken. So Arjuna, because he doesn't want to fight, because he is under the consciousness that all these relatives of mine, they are all these bodies. So here Arjuna is being explained by Krishna that you are not this body. All your relatives standing here in front of you, against you, they are all spirit souls. So what happens, because people get so, you can say, conditioned to identifying with the body, just like if I'm wearing this pink color sari, and if I start identifying I am the sari, that would not be very intelligent, because this is just a covering. And once this covering is going to, get old or torn or whatever, I'm going to just throw it. I'm going to trash it. And then I'm going to take on another garment. Similarly, this body, once it gets old and useless, the soul gives up this body and takes on another body. So the problem comes when we continue to identify with the body, which is like a dress, and we get affected by different modes, whether it's sometimes we are, acting in the mode of goodness, sometimes passion, sometimes ignorance. In fact, the very next chapter, number 14, it's entitled Modes of Material Nature. So we will learn about these three modes in detail in the next chapter. But here, Krishna is trying to explain that generally people get affected by different modes, and then they also get contaminated. But Krishna does not get contaminated. Talking about contamination, I would like to share what I experienced a few days ago. So I was going grocery shopping in my car. My car is only 3 years old. I bought it only 3 years ago. And I was driving, and just before I reached the grocery store, I noticed that I was running out of gas. So there was a gas station right next to Sprouts Market. So I filled gas and I did my grocery shopping. And as I came out of the parking lot and started driving on the road, my car started jerking. I mean, duduk, duduk, duduk. And it has never happened. And I'm like, I'm in the middle of the traffic, cars are just speeding left, right, and center. And here my car is like, getting all these jerks. And on the dashboard, all the lights started flashing. Check engine, rush to the dealership, malfunction, malfunction, malfunction. And I'm like, okay, what do I do now? By Krishna's mercy, the dealership was right around the corner. So I put on the hazard light and I slowly, because my car won't pick up any speed. So I reached the dealership and showed them, see, look, these are all the signals that are popped up. So they asked a question. I guess they were experienced in this. So they asked me a question. Did you fill a gas just now? I said, yes. He said, that's the culprit. It was contaminated gas. The gas was filled with water in it. And that is why the engine did not want to work and everything went haywire. All these signals came up. So the dealership said, you'll have to leave your car for 2 days because we have to empty out the whole gas tank, clean it up, clean all the pipes or tubes or whatever it was. And it cost me $650. Why? Because of contaminated gas. So similarly, there's contamination even in our consciousness based on what food we eat, the association we have, the type of work we do, what is the state of our consciousness. So of course, we'll learn more in the next chapter in modes of material nature, but I'm just giving you an idea what Krishna is trying to explain, that we need to come out of this conditioning. You see, need to understand the purpose of human life, the goal of human life, and break this bondage. In chapter 3, Krishna explained to us how does this bondage happen. He says, Yagnarthat karmanonyatra loko yam karma bandhana tad artham karma kauntaya mukta sangha samachara. How can we get mukti? How can we get liberation? How can we break this bondage? He explains that work done as a sacrifice for Krishna has to be performed. That is the whole, the key to freedom, to liberation. So as Srila Prabhupada also explains in the purport that these 4 Vedas, the Vedas, they are divided into 4 parts, Yajur, Atharva, Rig, and Samaveda. And these Vedas, they explain the 2 knowers of the field of activities. Now, in the beginning of this chapter, Arjuna asked these questions. He wanted to know what is the field of activity, who's the knower of the field. So Krishna explained that the field of activities is this body and the knower is the spirit soul. So here, Srila Prabhupada explains based on the Vedas that there are 2 knowers in one body. One is ourselves, the spirit soul, and the other is the super soul, which is sitting next to the soul in the heart. So we see that, what we have learned so far in the Bhagavad Gita, that, Krishna has many different energies and they are manifested in different ways. Just like you can say the food that we eat, it's called Annamaya. That's the energy which is manifested as food, because, food is very necessary for existence. If there is no food, we are going to die. But we need to understand that that food also is Krishna's energy. Now, that is, of course, a materialistic realization of Krishna, like Pranamaya. That is realizing Krishna in the life forms. Prana is, breathing, the air that we breathe, Jnanamaya, which goes beyond like thinking, feeling, willing. And Vijnanamaya is Brahman realization. So it's Bhagavad Gita is teaching us how all these different energies of Krishna are working for our benefit. Imagine if there was no air to breathe. There was no water to drink. There was no food to eat. We could not exist. We would die. This body would not be able to sustain itself. So all these are energies of the Lord, and they are given to us so that we can use the energies of Krishna to become self-realized. So this is the main topic of discussion here in verse number 5, and of course in this chapter also. And main thing to understand is difference between body and the soul. This knowledge that we are not this body, we are the spirit soul, is the foundation of Bhagavad Gita. Until and unless we become conscious of this fact that I'm not this body, but I'm a spirit soul, we will not be able to attain that state of bliss. See, Krishna is guiding us. He's giving us a process because see, everyone wants to enjoy. There's no one in this world who's, prays to the Lord, please give me misery. I want to be very sad. I want to be diseased. I want to grow old. No one prays to the Lord in this consciousness. Everyone wants to enjoy. Everyone wants to be blissful, but most people don't know how to be blissful. You see, that is the thing. But Bhagavad Gita is teaching us that if we connect ourselves to Krishna, who is all blissful, he is the reservoir of bliss. If we connect to him, then we will automatically become blissful. In other words, we try to dovetail our activities in his consciousness, become conscious of him. Only when we will become conscious of Krishna, the Supreme Lord, that he will become conscious of us. And once we start connecting with him, then we will automatically become blissful. Let's take a practical example of connection. One example is we can, just like when I want to connect with my sister who is in India, all I have to do is, pick up my phone and just dial her number and make that connection. And then I can talk to her. I can do a video call or, just a chat or whatever, or maybe SMS, whatever it is. So that connection is through the phone number. I have her number and I connect to her. That is one way. But how do we connect to Krishna? Because he is in the spiritual world and we are in the material world. So how do we connect? It's very simple. We have the phone number of Krishna. Now, for instance, excuse me, here in the chat, I am going to put some links, but at the bottom you will see is the phone number of Krishna. It's Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That is the way we can connect with him on a daily basis. And the more sincere and serious we are in this connection, the more he is going to reciprocate. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam sthathaiva bhajamiham. As one surrenders unto me, I reward them accordingly. So to the degree we have that surrender to him, to the degree we chant his holy names, to that degree he reciprocates with us. So that is one connection. We can connect with him by chanting the holy names. Now, another practical example is we can connect by eating. Everyone likes to eat. Everyone has to eat to, maintain this body together, body and soul together. Because if we don't eat, we are going to die. We'll have to give up this body. So eating, how can we connect with Krishna by eating? Simply by offering our food to him. And then that food becomes blessed food, which is sanctified food, which is karma free. It has no reactions at all. So coming to the verse, Krishna is saying that he who knows he's the one who knows the activities of all the bodies. This we learned last week. He's the superknower. Now, for instance, I know what's going on in my body. I cannot tell what's going on in your bodies because it's not possible. I can only know about my body. But Krishna says he's the knower of field of activities of all the bodies. You see, why? Because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So bottom line is to understand that we are spirit soul. Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He's the enjoyer. He's the controller. He's the sanctioner. He's the well-wisher, right? So if we try to understand Bhagavad Gita in that consciousness, then we'll be able to understand Bhagavad Gita. And what will be the result of understanding Bhagavad Gita? Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. That we'll come to that Brahma Bhuta stage where we will have no more hankering or lamentation. There will be no more complaining. Oh, it's too cold today. Oh, no, it's too hot today. Oh, this, oh, that. Oh, my head is hurt. No, there will be no lamentation at all. Why? Because the self-realized person would have reached that Brahma Bhuta stage, that stage where there is no duality. You can say the person is so satisfied in life that there is no more hankering. I want this and I want that. Just like children, when they see any advertisements, whether they are, in the car, they look at the billboards or on TV or, on their laptops, wherever they see any advertisement, they want it. Just like my grandson will say, Grandma, I want that. Okay. You can't have everything. There is this hankering. So once one reaches that Brahma Bhuta stage, then Prasannatma is very happy and satisfied. That is what Bhagavad Gita is teaching us, how to be satisfied in all situations. Vidya Vinaya Sampane, Brahmane Gavi Hastine, Shuni Cheva Swapakicha, Panditaha Samadarshina. Panditaha is learned. When we learn the Bhagavad Gita, we come to a stage where we become learned and then Samadarshina. That means then we have equal vision. Nothing can disturb us because we are self-satisfied. We are happy in whatever situation we are. You must have heard that a boy, he was complaining, I don't have proper shoes. I want new shoes. I want new shoes. And I want 10 pairs of shoes till the time he saw a boy without legs. You see the difference. Here, I have everything that, is necessary for self-realization, but I'm still aspiring for more. I'm still, wanting more and more and more. But here, the learned person, he's come to a Brahma Bhuta stage where he's Samadarshina. Nothing bothers him, whether there is happiness, distress, success, failure, heat or cold, doesn't matter at all. So here Krishna is trying to say that we can understand the Bhagavad Gita. We can understand that I am not this body, I am the spirit soul. This body is the field of activities and the spirit soul is the knower of this field of activities, which means the spirit soul is the knower of this body. But the purpose of this human body is to use our philosophical intelligence to understand how to break the cycle of birth and death. We have been going through this merry-go-round or Ferris wheel over and over again. Birth, disease, old age, death. Birth again, disease, old age, death, and birth again. So we've been going on in this cycle since a very long time. But a Brahma Bhuta stage person, someone who has reached that stage of self-realization, understands how to break this cycle of birth and death. And the first step to self-realization is chanting the holy names of the Lord. Just like I've posted the links, and at the bottom I've put the mantra. Man means mind. Tra means to free the mind of anxiety. So the Maha Mantra, the greatest chant, is what can help us to become blissful. That is the topic for today. How can we become blissful? And Bhagavad Gita is giving us a simple process. In fact, in chapter number 5, the very last verse, Krishna gives a peace formula. Until and unless we are at peace, we will not be happy. And the peace formula is Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwara Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam Gnatvam Shantim Richati. Shanti means peace. How do we get peace? If we can understand very clearly that the bhokta, the enjoyer, the controller is Krishna himself. He is Maha Ishvara. He is the God of all the demigods. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if a person understands Suhridam, that Krishna is our well-wisher, he is our best friend. Imagine he travels with us from one body to another. You know, it is the scriptures explain to us at the time of death, the spirit soul leaves the body to go into another body, but it doesn't go alone. Along with the spirit soul goes the super soul, that is Krishna himself, and the subtle body, which is mind, intelligence, and false ego. So all these three together, they go into the next body. He's so kind. Even though we may not listen to him, we may not follow his instructions, we may be disobedient, or whatever it may be, he does not let us go. He travels with us from one body to another. Why? Of course, he travels because he witnesses our actions, he sanctions our activities, he also guides us. Haven't we noticed that sometimes when we are trying to do something, something tells us this is wrong? Who is that someone? That is the spirit soul guiding us. So when we really want to take advantage of this human form of life, then only we will be able to rise ourselves to that stage of self-realization. And the first step to self-realization is chanting the holy names of the Lord. So as we do after every session, we chant for a few minutes. So since we have the time, if you don't mind, is it okay that we can chant the whole round today? I always chant just 10 times, but can we chant 108 times today? If you think yes, then you can give me a thumbs up or you can give me a thumbs down. Based on that, we can do the chanting. Good. Okay, so let's chant. It'll take only 10 minutes to finish the whole round. So let us start. And my humble suggestion is that you also please chant in your homes or wherever you are, chant with me. That would be really nice. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. So you see, we have finished chanting 108 times. It takes only about 8 to 10 minutes. So it's my very humble request that you please chant on a daily basis, and you will yourself see the difference. You will see how it brings about happiness and bliss. And I've been chanting for 35 years. Leela Vasani has been chanting for more than 15 years. Avni has been chanting for maybe 20 years. So it really makes you happy and peaceful. So please chant, it would be nice if you can chant on a daily basis, at least one round, 108 times. It'll take about 10 minutes. So I'm going to stop here.